I'd like to thank all of you for joining, and it's astounding. We have people from coast to coast and Canada to Guatemala. It's fun to see so many friends.
Nice.
My name is Scott Pike, co-founder and president of Enfoque Ixcan, and here's today's agenda. First, to show you the depth of our organization, I'm going to introduce you to some important people who have made Enfoque Ixcan a success. Our board of directors, our workers in Ixcán, Guatemala, and one of our partners in patient care. You'll hear directly from two of our eye health promoters in Ixcán and an optometry student representing Amigos Eye Care. Finally, we'll show you the progress on our new eye clinic in Ixcán. But this celebration is also intended to celebrate all of you who have supported us over the years. The sum of everything you'll see and hear about Enfoque Ixcan this afternoon has been made possible because you, our donors, have generously given to make it happen. For those of you unfamiliar with the Ixcán region of Guatemala, here's a map for you to get oriented. Mexico borders Guatemala on the north and the west. The area inside of that purple circle is more or less the Ixcán region of Guatemala. And it's pretty much straight north of Guatemala City. And even though that doesn't look very far, and it isn't very far, it takes about 8 hours to get there by car. Okay, now I'd like to introduce you to our board of directors. Amanda Teres is one of our founding board members. Amanda was the motivation behind our becoming a nonprofit back in 2006. She's on the faculty at the business school at Oregon State University. And this afternoon, she's our technical director coordinating this Zoom event. Amanda visited the Ixcán in 2006. Dwight Fleck, also one of our founding members, has been my best friend in the 5th grade. Dwight had a 40-year career in business risk management as an analyst, project manager, and business consultant. Dwight is our treasurer, and we're in good financial hands with Dwight's sound judgment and leadership. He has visited the Ixcán 6 times. Ryan Arvidsson is an optometrist and works for an eye surgery referral center in Chehalis, Washington. Brian has been on 11 mission trips to Ixcán with me, including 2 while he was a student, an optometry student. He has served on our board since 2011. I always feel very comfortable having Brian with me on trips to Ixcán because of his eye care knowledge and his comforting way with people. Ali Durbin made her first trip to Ixcán when she was 14. That turned into several more trips through high school, which then led to her doing social justice work in Guatemala for several years, which then led to her marrying a man from Ixcán. She now lives in a small town near Guatemala City with her husband and 2 daughters. Ali is a very accomplished English, Spanish interpreter and has some fluency in the Mayan language Quiche. Our work in Guatemala is made much easier and more secure with Ali's language skills and her understanding of Guatemalan culture. Jessica Lynch is an optometrist and owns an eye clinic in Hillsboro, Oregon. Jessica is our newest board member and has given us a boost of new energy. She is our development person, seeking out grants, heading up our social media presence, and other fundraising activities. Jessica has made 3 trips to Guatemala with us, and she's instrumental in developing our new eye clinic now under construction, and she'll show you our new eye clinic in a few minutes. Here are some other people I'd like you to meet who have been indispensable in our success. Pedro Chum is my co-founder and our nonprofit legal representative in Guatemala. Pedro and I started this project back in 1996. Our hardworking eye health promoters are Felipe Panhoc and Carlos Quinilla. Rachel Bush is a current optometry student from Pacific University. She'll be telling you about our work with Amigos Eye Care. Pedro, Carlos, and our architect, Manuel Beletsui, are in Guatemala, and if they can get a connection, they will be with us on Zoom. I think Manuel is with us, and they'll be available to answer questions later on. If you have questions or comments, please type them into the chat box. At the end, we'll take time to respond. Now I'm really happy to turn it over to Ali Durbin.
Hi, everyone. It's wonderful to see you here. I have the honor to introduce our co-founder, Pedro Chom Tum. Pedro is a Quiché Maya, a genocide survivor, a longtime healthcare provider, and an all-around extraordinary human being. Pedro was born in the Guatemalan highlands, where his parents worked on plantations for pittance wages. As a young man in the 1970s, Pedro joined other courageous pioneers seeking land and opportunity in the largely uninhabited, lush Ixcán region. With no roads, electricity, or other basic services, they had to build their community from the ground up. Their hard work, however, was destroyed in 1982. Massacres against Maya peoples forced Pedro and thousands of others to leave their homes. Pedro fled to Mexico, where he lived for 12 years. While in the refugee camp, he trained as a health promoter. For decades, Pedro has tended to his community's healthcare needs, performing house calls, field calls, and essentially being on call 24/7. He treats a wide range of cases, from mosquito bites to machete wounds, malaria to myopia. Pedro has 5 children and 6 grandchildren. His youngest daughter, Natividad, graduated last year from medical school, following in her father's footsteps in healthcare and realizing a lifelong dream. Pedro is a natural leader, a keeper of historical memory, and a master storyteller. If you ever have the chance to visit him, he will welcome you in the shade of his garden and regale you with tales of mishaps and adventures. Pedro's wisdom, insights, and commitment have guided his community and Enfoque Ixcan towards equitable development and comprehensive healthcare. Now we will hear directly from Pedro about the history and background of Enfoque Ixcan.
Buenos días, queridos hermanas y hermanos y amigos de los Estados Unidos. Mi nombre es Pedro Chom Tum, soy agricultor y promotor de salud. Actualmente soy representante legal de la organización Enfoque Ixcan en Guatemala. En el año 1996, aproximadamente hace 25 años, tuvimos la dicha de conocernos con el Dr. Scott, viendo la necesidad de apoyar a la población con problemas visuales. El municipio de Ixcán se encuentra muy retirado de los servicios profesionales de la vista. Por esa causa, emprendimos el camino de la fundación de lo que es ahora Enfoque Ixcan. Se han capacitado a promotores de salud de la vista para poder brindar una buena atención, para dar educación a la prevención de la ceguera. Se han ido cubriendo los primeros auxilios visuales y como también acompañar a los pacientes para la cirugía. Poco a poco hemos ido avanzando Estamos ahora en un proceso de construcción de una nueva clínica en el municipio. Gracias al apoyo solidario de los amigos de buen corazón para poder llevar a cabo de la construcción y que Dios les dé mucha bendición.
In addition to Pedro, Felipe and Carlos are native to the area and serve as eye health promoters in the Enfoque Ixcan clinic in Playa Grande. They provide eye exams, dispense prescription glasses, look for any eye issues, and accompany patients on the day-long trip to San Benito and the Petén, where our closely associated clinic, Visualiza, provides cataract and other surgeries. For other issues of the eye, they also accompany patients to the main Visualiza clinic in Guatemala City, which is a very long day's journey away. Felipe and Carlos are the only eye care providers in the Ixcán region of about 100,000 people. They keep the clinic open 5 days a week, year-round, and receive training at least 2 times a year, usually more than that, from Dr. Pike or one of the other accompanying optometrists. Sometimes they'll also go to either San Benito and the Petén or Guatemala City and receive some training there from Visualiza. Over the years, they've examined over 5,400 patients. They've dispensed 2,866 pairs of glasses. They've accompanied 854 patients requiring surgery that's paid for by the donors of Enfoque Ixcan. And this includes 631 life-changing cataract surgeries. Felipe joined Dr. Pike and Pedro in 2004, and he's known as a very dedicated and caring eye health promoter. A true story tells you all you need to know about his commitment to the people of Ixcán. A few years ago, he was accompanying a group of elderly patients to San Benito for cataract surgeries. As usual, they were traveling in a 19-passenger van, but because there were so many patients, there was no place for Felipe in the van. Rather than having one of the elderly patients stay behind, Felipe climbed up the ladder, grabbed a hold of the luggage rack, and spent several dusty hours traveling on the roof of the van over the bumpy dirt roads. Need I say more about his level of commitment? Both Felipe and Carlos are very, very hardworking and devoted workers. We have been very thankful to have Carlos with us since 2018 when he joined Felipe as an eye health promoter. He brought a spirit of resourcefulness to his position, incorporating his skills, interests, and aptitudes. Carlos is a certified nurse, which brings his skilled focus to bear on his core duties. He also teaches computer skills to the local population and does computer repair work as well. As you can surmise from these two attributes, Carlos is a very quick learner who seeks out opportunities to increase his knowledge and the use of the equipment and resources that he has at his disposal in order to provide the best possible level of patient care. In addition to skilled use of the diagnostic equipment available to him, Carlos also became skilled at fabricating prescription lenses. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Carlos Quinilla.
Muy buenas tardes, mi nombre es Carlos Enrique Quinilla González, promotor de la salud visual de la Fundación Enfoque Ixcan, con sede en Ixcán, Quiché, Guatemala. Para mí es un honor estar laborando en la fundación debido a la gran ayuda que le brinda a la población ixcaneca, como también a los lugares circunvecinos como lo es México, Barías y Alta Verapaz. Quisiera dar a conocer el porqué de lo importante que es la fundación en el municipio y las impresiones que personalmente he obtenido en cuanto a los resultados obtenidos hacia los pacientes del municipio. Especialmente algo que me dejó muy impactado fue el caso del señor Sebastián Pablo Juan, de 45 años de edad, quien se presentó a la clínica de Enfoque Ixcan pidiendo ayuda debido a un problema del ojo izquierdo, el cual desde ya 2 años le venía afectando. Como pueden ver, aquí tenemos la imagen del paciente cuando se presentó a la clínica. Debido a la gravedad de su problema, pues yo al verlo me impresioné bastante, ya que no había visto algún caso similar, pero gracias a la ayuda de Enfoque Ixcan se hicieron los trámites respectivos con las clínicas especializadas en cirugías y se logró realizar una cirugía al paciente, el cual se obtuvieron resultados maravillosos. Como pueden ver, aquí tenemos ya al paciente saliendo de la clínica, ya operado. Desde ahí la vida del paciente tuvo un cambio rotundo. Él refirió sentirse muy agradecido con la fundación, su autoestima mejoró bastante, se ve la alegría de cómo también de su familia por los resultados que se obtuvieron. Aquí tenemos otra fotografía donde pueden ver ya al paciente feliz de cómo le había quedado la operación cuando que se le realizó. Personalmente yo agradezco a todas las personas que brindan su ayuda para que otras personas de escasos recursos puedan tener un lugar como lo es Enfoque Ixcan para poder mejorar su estilo de vida, tanto como niños, jóvenes, especialmente las personas de la tercera edad. Gracias y bendiciones.
One of the things that really drew me to this organization, being an optometrist, we have a long history of service through domestic programs like infancy, where we provide services for children 12 months and younger, strong connections to groups like Special Olympics, Lions Clubs, and gospel missions all the way across the United States. One such international service that optometry supports is Volunteers for Optometric Services to Humanity, also known as VOSH. This organization, as it says, is a volunteer endeavor of optometrists who provide free clinics and services around the world, helping to solve some of the biggest causes of blindness, the main one being uncorrected refractive error. This also is one of only 2 readily available treatable causes of blindness, glasses, and then the other treatable cause or readily treatable cause of cataracts. Mission trips take immense planning, usually are a unique event in which a large team swoops in on a destination, provides care for as many people as possible for a short period of time. But those that don't get seen miss out on the services. I kind of classify this as the give a person a fish model to international services. Enfoque Ixcan has incorporated a slightly different approach in which we incorporate the teach them how to fish approach. Enfoque Ixcan has strived to build an ever-growing presence in this remote region of Guatemala by employing, teaching, and providing through vision services to the people of the Ixcán, including the beginning of our permanent presence with the start of our new clinic, which you'll hear about later this evening. We've been blessed to have developed a wonderful working relationship with Pacific University and their student-run VOSH program called Amigos. Because of this ongoing relationship, we've been able to provide annual week-long clinics for the past 17 years. Amigos has provided over 15,000 examinations, dispensed over 6,500 pairs of glasses. We've completed vision screenings at over 35 different villages throughout the Ixcán region. Through this endeavor, we've had the pleasure of over 120 Amigos members traveling with us, 22 different licensed optometrists, and over 21 other volunteers who help with translation, glasses dispensing, and in-country logistics. My journey with Enfoque Ixcan actually started as a student member of Amigos back in 2005. I feel really strongly about this mission and the people involved, so much so that, as Scott mentioned earlier, I've already made 11 trips back to Guatemala. We've invited the current president of Amigos, Rachel Bush, today with us to talk a little bit more about Amigos and the international missions in optometric education. She's a third-year optometry student from Chicago who participated in our last week-long clinic back in 2019. She's a veteran of the missions field. During her undergraduate school at Loyola University, she collaborated with the optometry school in Chicago, ICO, and is a world traveler, having spent time in Europe, Australia, and Central America.
All right.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Arvidsson. So what a pleasure it is to be here with you all today and speak on behalf of Amigos. So our chapter here at Pacific began back in 1975, stemming from an organization called Amigos de las Americanas. And we've now grown into the largest student VOSH chapter in America. We are primarily student run with help from a wonderful faculty board, which includes Dr. Pike and Dr. Lynch. They help us make financial and economic decisions regarding trips. So since that 1975, we've been able to visit over 30 countries, including parts of Africa, Central and South America, China, Europe, Indonesia, India, and more. Amigos is dedicated to providing communities with optometric care that otherwise would have none, while at the same time help students refine their skills and have the opportunity to embrace new cultures. On these trips, students get to see, many for the first time, diseases only seen in textbooks. The patients on these trips stay with you forever. Of the hundreds of patients we got to see in Guatemala, there are a few that have stuck with me. So after a long 3-hour bus ride to a very remote village in Ixcán, we were greeted by cheering kids and they were singing and it was just wonderful. Once we got situated, there was a teenage boy with a glow in his eyes. You could feel his joy radiating all around him. He knew we were going to fix his vision. On initial entrance skills, one of his eyes was seeing perfect, 20/20. The other, 2200. Interesting. From the outside, everything looked normal. However, after taking a look at his optic nerve, my heart sank into my stomach. Unfortunately for this young man, there was nothing we could do. His nerve was non-functional, most likely due to some sort of trauma at or around birth. We would never know. How do you tell someone with so much hope there was nothing to be done? He and I were both heartbroken. His story has stayed with me and reminds me that even with all the technology and advancements medicine has made, sometimes it still doesn't matter, and we just have to be a shoulder for our patients to lean on and cry. On a happier note, the little boy Diego, he has a special place in my heart. He was about 6 or 7 years old, small for his age, and very shy. From first glance, everything about him seemed okay. However, once you looked a little bit closer, he had something called a nystagmus, which is where your eyes are just constantly moving, meaning that it made seeing very difficult. So after a series of tests with help from one of the doctors guiding me through, we were able to find the perfect prescription and ideal fitted glasses to help dampen or lessen that nystagmus. For the first time the whole exam, this little boy opened his eyes real wide and looked at me and said, "I can see." So it was beautiful. We said, "Look around. Are things clear, más claro?" And he goes, "Sí." The people of Guatemala have truly left an impact on my heart. They were so thankful for the things that we take for granted. Many travel from over 4 or 5 hours away, waiting in line, just hoping to be able to be seen that day. The opportunities Enfoque Ixcan has made for us as students and for the people of Ixcan is truly 1 in a million. Due to their constant support from a lot of you, work ethic, and their resilience, they are truly making the world a better place. Thank you so much. And at the end, we'll be answering questions.
Hello, my name is Jessica Lynch, and I want to thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a long time coming, and we'd like to share with you the view and progress of our new eye clinic in Playa Ixcan, or Playa Grande Ixcan. To help you appreciate the delight this construction brings us, we'd like to present a little background on the project. In the beginning, in 1997, Pedro and Scott, and later Felipe, worked from the health post in Santa Maria Ceja. There was no electricity then, so much of the work had to be completed outside. The acuity chart was often hung where it would find the best light, and our handheld portable refractor was time-consuming and often took 2 people to make work. But it was a start, and we got the job done. As Pedro and Felipe's services became more popular and sought out, the office space was rented in Ixcan's commercial center in Playa Grande. This was a room 10 by 10, not very big, but it gave Enfoque a central place to store glasses, eye drops, and testing equipment. The patients had to wait outside, but at least it was covered. Soon after moving into this office in 2012, the need for more space was apparent. We began looking for property to build on. The Ministry of Health was preparing to build a new hospital, and they invited us to use land adjacent to the hospital for our new building. We started raising money for the construction in 2013. However, construction of the new hospital started and stopped several times over the next 5 years. Government funding for the hospital was not reliable. Nevertheless, we picked out a corner of the property, and our architect, Manuel, worked out plans for the construction. In the original plan, we had a reception area, bathrooms, an office, and 2 exam rooms in a 30 by 30 footprint. By 2016, 3 years after we were first offered the land by the Ministry of Health, we began to realize that it would be a good idea to have Plan B. We requested that the local municipal government donate some land for our clinic. This led to many meetings with the mayor's office. They liked the idea and they granted us some land. In 2016, the municipality of Playa Grande Quiche gifted Enfoque Ixcan a 1/4 acre plot of land for a future clinic. We were gifted a 1/4 acre of rough jungle land. And thinking about the land we were granted, it was decided it would be wise to make the clinic larger with an eye to the future. We, along with our architect, Manuel, have designed the clinic in 3 phases. Each phase is designed around a central courtyard with the windows at the roof open for airflow. There is an adjacent parking lot and all is surrounded by a security fence. We met our architect, Manuel Bellaluzzi, through the Coban, Guatemala Rotary Club. Several Rotary clubs, both in the US and Guatemala, have been very helpful to Enfoque Ixcan, both in their time and resources. We could never have gotten this far without them. The first phase of our clinic is in red. The main entrance is on the left in this picture, and the parking lot, although not pictured here, is to the left of the main entrance. The second phase is in blue, and it includes 2 more exam rooms, a kitchen, classroom, and a dormitory. The third and final phase in green of the clinic construction includes another dormitory as well as a surgical suite and classroom. The central courtyard is continuous with each phase and will help cool the clinic. This is another larger view of phase 1, which we are currently constructing. The main entrance is on the bottom in the middle, with the waiting room to the right of the door and the optical dispensary area to the left. The rooms farther back on the right are the patient bathroom, followed by the pretest room and the exam room. The 2 rooms on the left, above the optical dispensary, are the optical lab where glasses can be made, and a staff bath and shower. Phase 1 encompasses approximately 1,300 square feet. Our ultimate goal of having a solid, sustainable eye clinic for the people of Ixcán is becoming tangible. The Ixcán people are hardworking and warm-hearted and lack many of the opportunities we enjoy, like access to eye care. The people of Ixcán have been denied their basic right to essential health care, and it is only because of compassionate members like you that we have been able to raise the $61,000 needed to build this clinic. In February of last year, Dr. Pike dug the ceremonial first shovel of dirt. Manuel completed the clinic plans, and we continued raising money. Our loyal supporters, many of you with us today, responded graciously. By the fall of 2020, we were ready to begin construction. As with any construction project, there are surprises. Our first surprise came in the form of a steep elevation change in the land that wasn't evident until it was cleared. Leveling the plot took longer than anticipated. These pictures also show the new security fence going in. Surprise number 2 came in the form of 2 tropical storms that hit the region in November and washed out our material supply route for 2 to 3 weeks. However, after a brief halt, construction was again underway. The construction crew finished leveling the land for phase 1. The construction crew at this point was sourced almost entirely from Playa Grande, with most of our supplies coming from Coban. This is the view from the parking lot looking up at the front of the clinic. Municipal utilities such as water and sewer haven't been brought out to this area yet, and so we will have a water tank and a septic tank that will be installed later in construction. However, electricity and internet are available through the municipality. In this photo, the security fence is going in, as are the walls. Construction is trickier in the jungle. In this area, almost all of the construction is done with concrete blocks, but there is no water available, so it must be brought in. Also, electricity is not available here, so at this point, most of the tools are battery operated. And the walls are getting bigger. Take notice of this scaffolding. This is typical in Central American construction. This is the view from the back wall of the clinic looking towards the parking lot. When we started construction, we weren't aware of the elevation change in the property. The land just to the back of the clinic will be leveled at some point in anticipation of phase 2 and 3. In these photos, the window spaces are in and the columns are up for the veranda. We are about ready for the roof. And here are more pictures of kind of the back side. After 8 years of planning and fundraising and only 5 months of construction, this week the much anticipated roof went up on our clinic. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are excited for the future of Enfoque Ixcan and appreciate all of you taking your time to spend this evening with us. Before we conclude, I wanted to let you know about a few of our upcoming events. During the month of April, we are introducing our Friends of Enfoque raffle. Those donors who sign up for recurring monthly donations will be entered into a raffle to win a beautiful Guatemala blanket. Also on Sunday, May 2nd, we'll be having a donor event, Enfoque on Tap in Billings, Montana. It's a happy hour for supporters of Enfoque Ixcan and an opportunity for me to get to know you and answer any questions that you might have about Enfoque Ixcan. I'm hoping that we're also able to do one in Massachusetts later in the fall. Now I'll turn it back to Dr. Pike.
Thank you, Jessica, and everybody else. I sometimes I lose my motivation a little bit, but after hearing all of this and seeing some of the history and watching Carlos and Pedro and everybody, it really lifts me up, and I'm ready to go again as soon as I can get down there. In just a minute, we'll take your questions, but first I want to thank everyone who participated in this presentation, especially Pedro and Carlos in Guatemala, Amanda for organizing this for Zoom, Rachel Bush, and all of our board members. I'm very proud and pleased with our board of directors, our eye health promoters, and our connection with Amigos Eye Care. It's reassuring to know that our organization is in competent hands to lead us into a very sustainable future. Excuse me. I'd like to thank all of you for attending and being a part of this team effort to bring eye care to a very deserving, hardworking, and resilient people. Enfoque Ixcan is only as strong as our supportive donors. You're improving the quality of their lives, and we thank you so much. This concludes the formal part of our presentation. We have about 15 minutes left before our Zoom time is up. If you need to leave, we understand, but everyone is welcome to stay with us. We'd like to hear your questions, your comments, and maybe share some stories. We'll change to the gallery view here pretty quick so that you can more easily see each other and be a little more social. I want you to remember that if you have questions later, you can always go to our website, www.enfoqueixcan.org, and you can be in contact with us that way. So, Amanda, what questions have we received?
Let me take a peek in the chat here. Well, thank you, everybody, for the nice comments. Thank you, Linda and Christine, for just the kudos to this organization. I've been very happy to be a board member for multiple years, and we're very happy to be able to share all the work that's been done. So thank you for those nice comments in the chat. Let me see about questions specifically. Let's see. Oh, I guess Carol said the roof looks very nice. So thank you, Carol. Let's see. I don't specifically see any questions yet. Kevin's very excited about coming to Billings, Montana. So Jessica will look forward to meeting everybody there.
I'll get a hold of him.
Sounds good. Let's see. Oh, Kathy Patrick asked, how can someone donate?
How can someone donate? Well, probably the easiest way is to go online to our website. There's a enormous donate here button that you can push that'll take you right where you want to be. If you're on our mailing list, we also send out newsletters and fundraising letters that have return envelopes in them. And so we accept checks. So there's a couple of ways to give.
Great. Well, it looks like Rachel got a shout out from Ryan Bush. So good job, Rachel. Let's see.
Father.
Okay, so Jeff Clausen asked, is there an envisioned timeline for phase 2 and 3?
That's a good question, Jeff. There is, and the answer is it's somewhere out in the future. Of course, we would like to start as soon as we can, but I don't know that we're quite ready to embark on a brand new fundraising campaign just yet. But we are beginning the thought process of getting into that, and I hope it doesn't take as long as it took to get the first phase done from 2013 to 2021. So you'll just have to stay tuned, Jeff.
Well, Jeff also made a good comment that you can support Enfoque Ixcan through Amazon Smile, which it's very easy to sign up for. And then every purchase you make through Amazon, a percentage of that comes back to Enfoque Ixcan.
That's a good thing to remember, yeah.
Okay, so Linda asked, thank you, Linda, for your nice comment about the presentation. But Linda also asked, how has COVID affected our efforts?
Well, I guess I can answer that, and Allie may want to say something too, but it kind of put them on hold for a while. Our office was closed down from sometime in March until December. And so we reopened the office in December, and Carlos and Felipe have been seeing patients there since then. They're properly masked and wipe everything down very carefully. They're very good about that. As far as trips to the eye clinic Visualisa for surgeries, we're a little bit limited in that regard because we can't take large groups like we used to. We used to take 20 or more people at a time. Now, if people want to go, we're taking them in public transportation in small groups. We had a group last week that was 3 people that Felipe took to San Benito. And so we'll probably continue to do small groups like that. But Allie would be able to say more about the general effects of the COVID in the population in Ixcán.
Yes. Well, one thing that's important to keep in mind is that the Guatemalan government took COVID very seriously from the get-go and put a lot of restrictions on in terms of travel bans. So people couldn't even go maybe even like 30 miles outside of their own home. So obviously any sort of healthcare need where a person would have to go to specialized treatment was made very, very difficult for many months. And there were curfews. So people couldn't really leave their homes much in evenings or in the weekends. The economy has also been affected because so many people depended on the informal economy, and which market stalls and other types of sort of more street sales of produce or other daily goods, but that got closed down for several months, and there's not much of a social safety net here. So it was really hard for many months, and a lot of those restrictions have now been eased or lifted. We think so. Guatemala doesn't have a huge caseload of COVID right now, but we also don't have many vaccines. For many months, there were 0 vaccines, and now finally there are 5,000 vaccines came to the country this week. So it's going to be probably going to be a long process to really get out of the pandemic for Guatemala.
Well, that might lead into the next question from Grace Anderson asking if there's an anticipated return trip to Guatemala for Amigos.
I think that would be a good question for Rachel.
Yeah, I can definitely take that. So pretty much every meeting we've had in the last year has been this question: when can we get back? It's a huge motivator for people joining our club. And when we don't have trips going out, it's pretty much at a standstill. So it's been pretty tough on especially the incoming students and the students that are second years currently, because they haven't gotten to go on a trip ever. So pretty much for us, we join Enfoque Ixcan in August. Typically, Dr. Pike goes down twice a year, August and February. February is in the middle of a semester for us, so unfortunately that doesn't line up with our schedule. Looking towards the future, I am hopeful, but I am trying to be realistic. So at our last meeting, we pretty much discussed summer was going to be a no-go, more so not because of the situations here in America, but abroad. So like Callie was saying, a lot of places don't have vaccines yet, or we would hate to go to a country and spread this around, considering we'd be traveling all over helping a lot of people. Something else that we have to think about going forward too is the PPE, so the protection equipment. A lot of these countries don't have ways to dispose of waste. So what we bring, we have to bring back. So just that in its own is a big facet we have to figure out. For us right now, I think Dr. Bowen's on the call as well. He's one of the other members on Amigos, and we do a trip with him to Senegal in winter. Depending on what's going on with their government at the moment, that's potentially our next trip in winter of 2021. But again, I'm not as optimistic as I hoped I would be. But everybody get your vaccine, everybody stay clean, and hopefully things can get rolling pretty soon. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, well, so Rachel, we have kind of a follow-up question on that about how the new clinic will affect Amigos trips. So when that day comes, what does that trip look like? Will you see patients at the clinic, or will you continue to use the church grounds or go to schools or do other things?
Yeah, so and Dr. Pike, please interject whenever you feel necessary. But I think those trips to the schools that are a little bit further out are really important. Those are places that pretty much the roads to get there are rocks and dirt, or bridges that are barely held together. I held my breath a few times, man, this big bus going over these bridges. But I think those communities that are very, very rural really need our help as well. And a lot of times it's kids. And without knowing too much about eye care, there's a lot of things with children. If we can get them prescribed glasses before about 9 years old, if they have any issues, we can impact their vision for the rest of their life. Whereas if we hadn't have been able to get them glasses, they would pretty much never be able to see 20/20. So for us, seeing the kids is really important. But for the new clinic, I think it'll be amazing. Pretty much where we are right now, we're really lucky. There's a convent that lets us use their facilities every year. And so we stay with them. And for us, the hardest part is the light. So a lot of the things that we do, we need to be in the dark. So we're just duct taping blankets over every little crevice because it's so bright, and then it's super hot, especially August, right? So for us, I think the clinic will be fantastic. And hopefully it's a way that we can even send more trips. Currently we go with Dr. Pike once a year, but perhaps we could go again during our spring break as well. You know, if we have a place that's a little bit, you know we have housing, we don't have to coordinate all of that with Carlos and them. So I think it'll be a very positive impact for sure.
Great.
I might add a little bit onto that, Rachel, not to throw water on what you're saying, but
No, please do.
one of the concerns we have is that when we have our open clinics, we could easily have a couple hundred people waiting. And the facility we use now at the Catholic Church provides us a lot of space, which we'll have to wait and see what kind of space we have. Kind of depends on the weather. If it's been raining a lot, it might be kind of muddy around our clinic. So it may not be right away before we use the clinic, other than for specialized care for patients that we screen and find need a closer look or special treatment. So the use of the clinic for Amigos trips may not happen right away.
But Scott, if I might interject too, maybe that would give us a chance to take patients who might need, minor lid procedures or, laser treatments or something like that, where we could take them to the clinic from the church. But yeah, I would concur that I don't know if we'll have enough space just to house that many people all at once.
Yeah, it's pretty much chaos, a kind of a controlled chaos, I guess.
Yeah. And then Aaron just also asked, who's been on our trip with us several times now. So thank you, Aaron, for supporting us and wanting to be part of it. The clinic where it's going in is a bit of a tuk-tuk ride to get there. So it's not really walking distance from where the church is at this time. So it would be something where we'd have to have transportation in order to get there. It's on the very outskirts of town, kind of right before we enter the town proper on the main highway there.
Okay.
Okay, so Scott, I think our time is about coming to the end. I did have one follow-up question that it looks like I missed back when we were talking about fundraising. It was a direct message asking about being able to donate through transfers of like stock or mutual funds. Is that something that Enfoque Ixcan does?
That's not something we've really looked into. I know that it's possible and that other nonprofits do that, but at the present time, we haven't consulted with anyone who can help us with that. We do, and in our next newsletter, we'll have a little bit of information about bequest or will giving, which would feed into that as well. And it's very easy for a person's attorney to take our name, tax ID number, and our address, and can work the will to include us, or that could include stocks or some other kind of investment, but it's a little more complicated when you do it that way.
Okay, I was just peeking through and I don't see any other questions, but please let me know if I missed something that you had asked.
Okay, well, I just want to say thank you. I'm almost overwhelmed by the number of people who showed up, and it's great to see so many faces of friends from way back, trips to Guatemala, college years, working back in Montana when I was in practice. Yeah, it's just fantastic. So I appreciate everybody's involvement, interest. And again, if you have more questions or want to talk, my phone number is on the website, and you can get our email addresses there as well. So if there is nothing else, does anybody else from the board have anything to say?
Just thank you to everybody. It's so wonderful.
We've got a bunch of introverts on the board, and getting them to speak up is like pulling teeth, I'll tell you. So I think that's just about it. We thank you all and have a good evening. Take care of yourselves.